Souls-like enjoyers are similar to the ones who like hot and spicy food. Both of them have said something along the lines of, "I'm burning and crying and I can't stop hurting myself." But let's try that again. Video games are getting easier every year and it's completely evident. It's normal to remember an old game like Prince of Persia Warrior Within and wonder, how on earth did I manage to finish this game as an 8-year-old? Was Final Fantasy X always this difficult? That's because the small-time entertainment of yesterday has become the big-shot business of today. Back in the day, studios couldn't care less if you liked their games or not. They did it out of enthusiasm. But today, a failed project could mean the end of a company. It's like a poker game that the bet keeps raising every second. What's the studio's magical solution for this? Let's make the games easier so people won't drop it out of frustration of not being able to defeat a boss. This foolproof plan of them is backfiring so beautifully. As we all can see, the popularity of Souls-like games are increasing each and every day. But who could have predicted something like that? Every sane human being older than 5 could see this. This is a video game. Yes, the story and the art and the music are important, but we want to have a decent and challenging gameplay too. Fromsoft Studio played the long game. They wisely promoted their games as difficult and impossible challenges, and now it's coming to fruition. Now everyone's looking for Souls-like games and these gems are getting more and more popular. Hello everyone, Old Soul here, and in this video, we talk about which Souls game should you play first and we look into why that game is so superior to others. If you subscribe and hit the like button, it keeps my channel from going hollow, so thank you. Before we talk about Souls games, it's time for a history lesson. Mithridates VI was the king of Pontus. He was a paranoid man and always feared someone would plot against him and poison him. In order to prevent that, he would take a small dosage of poison every day so his body would get stronger and would resist the poison. His plan worked perfectly, as he could drink a large amount of poison and nothing would happen to him. We'll come back to finish this amazing story later, but for now, let's focus on our own subject. Souls games are just like those poison shots. If you start in a wrong order, if you take a big sip, something bad happens. You'd get tired of it soon enough and drop the game. All Souls games are created with the same formula, but their unique features separate one from another. The game I think you should start with is Dark Souls Remastered, and I have 3.5 reasons to back my claim, so bear with me till the end. Number 1. The pace. Dark Souls 1 is incredibly slow and that's a good thing. When you wanted to learn to drive, did you start by going 100 km an hour, or did you drive slow at first to get the hang of it? Souls games are super difficult. They are unforgiving and you need to die lots of times to learn one specific dodge against a specific attack. If you start with a fast-paced game like Sekiro, how can you understand anything when you don't know the basic fighting system of the game? Another issue is the self-control. If you haven't played anything like this, you'll probably start hitting the attack button rapidly, thinking it would help you to kill the enemy faster. The slow pace of Dark Souls helps you fix that issue. This game is so slow that you have to hit each button too carefully and patiently to manage your stamina bar with the enemy's health bar. You can't learn this in a fast-paced game. Number 2. Simplicity. I often see people suggesting a lost soul to try Elden Ring or Sekiro first. Then I think, have they lost their minds? First time playing Dark Souls, for an hour I didn't know how to block an attack. Before reaching Gwyn, I didn't know there's something called parry in this game. Now imagine someone with zero experience starts playing Elden Ring with those vast abilities and features. Coming back to the driving analogy, what was the first thing you learned? Shifting up or drifting? Number 3. Learning curve. This one's the most important. When playing a Souls game, there's one golden rule you should know. At the very beginning of Dark Souls 1, you reach a boss. An impossible one. You only have a broken sword that can't penetrate its shell. That's the first time you're like, oh, now I understand why they say Dark Souls is difficult. The second time is when you lose your way into catacombs at the very beginning. Anyway, you keep dying against Asylum Demon until you see this door and run into it. There, you learned the golden rule. When you can't fight, run. This is the whole philosophy of Souls games. You can't fight 2 or 3 enemies at once, but if you drag and separate each one of them, it's way easier. Actually, in this game, each boss gives you a lesson. For instance, Copper Demon teaches you to defeat the little ones first before facing the big guy. Number 3.5. So, this guy, wanna know what was his fate? He went to a war with Pompey and lost the battle. To have an honorable death and not to become a captive, he decided to take his own life. So he drank a large amount of poison, but ironically, nothing happened. He kept drinking to no end because his body was completely immune to it now. So he had to ask his bodyguard to kill him. Even if you rise to the occasion, even if you start with the more difficult games, When you finish them and want to try another Souls game, it doesn't affect you. It bores you because now you're used to fast and complex games and there's nothing to learn anymore. Finally, I want to talk about the fate of Souls-like games. Will they take over the whole industry? Well, of course not. I think they get more and more popular in the years to come, but in the end, this fad dies out and only us loyal fans will remain. You know why? Because Souls-like is based on addiction. Yes, it's addictive, but not like those bad addictive games. This one makes you a better gamer and a better person. But the problem is, not everyone's mind is apt for addictive behaviors. When the mania ends, so does the most of the gamers' enthusiasm. If you enjoyed, I'm not gonna ask you to subscribe. I'm gonna beg you to subscribe. But jokes aside, it's completely okay if you don't. Thanks for watching and like always,
be safe, friend. Don't you dare go hollow.